louder is better. Nobody's gonna dance to tracks as quiet as a mime in a library, right? But this is the #1 mistake even pro DJs make. Managing volume, or gain staging if you're posh, is one of the most important things that makes a DJ set sound good or bad. If you've ever wondered why your mix sounds distorted, you need to watch this video. Think of your music like a rocket going to a moon rave. On its journey, it has to pass through several stages before it gets to its final destination. At each stage of the launch, something could go wrong. As the mission commander, your job is to make sure your music gets there safely. Your track is on the launch pad. You press play and it begins its long journey from your decks to the audience on the moon. The first thing we need to do is make sure our banger rocket has the right amount of fuel. Too much fuel, it's going to explode. Too little, it won't make it to space and it will crash into Birmingham. Probably an improvement. The first step is to set the input gain or trim on the channel. This is what's used to compensate for volume differences in the different tracks you might be playing. That's why just leaving it at 12 o'clock won't always work. Older tracks especially suffer from different volume levels. Set your gain to the lowest setting all the way to the left. Find the loudest part of the track, usually after the drop, and slowly turn up the gain until it's maxing out at the green level. You want your transients like snares or hi-hats to just start tapping into the orange zone. If you start hitting red, you've put too much fuel in and you need to dial it back. If you're a laptop DJ, bear in mind there's some software options that can affect gain staging as well. For instance, in Rekordbox, there's an option that automatically sets the gain to 0 dB. I found this option to be a bit inconsistent and I prefer to set it manually. I suggest for now you turn it off in Rekordbox preferences. You can find it under Controller, Mixer, Auto Gain. Fun fact, the amount of gain you have left before you start distorting is called headroom. Like wearing some loose trousers when you go to Nando's, it's good to have a bit of space to play with here. Next is the channel fader. I think of this like the fuel flow to the rocket, something you can use to make minor adjustments depending on weather conditions. This goes from 0 to 10. The important thing to remember here that some people don't realise is the fader is related to the gain. If my channel gain is set really low, the track's still going to be quiet even if my fader is all the way up. And if my gain is redlining, even a low volume fader is going to sound distorted. Our rocket made it off the launch pad and is on its way out of the Earth's atmosphere. After ditching its boosters, it has to position its pointy end at the moon. This is where we adjust our master out gain. This takes the sum total of the signals from your DJ equipment and sends them off to the speakers. There was a trap I used to fall into here when I started DJing. I didn't know that combining the channels when I was mixing could result in a louder overall signal. This can happen even if both channels' gain is set correctly. You can see at the moment with one channel playing, we're hitting about 0 on the master. But if I bring in the second channel of exactly the same track at the same gain, watch what happens to the master. You can see it's now gone up to 6 dB. I'm now going to add an echo effect. Watch it again. That's why it's really important to use your EQs, volume faders and effects knobs to make sure the signal going to the master doesn't get too hot. Too much power and your rocket will be on its way to Uranus. What if I told you playing your music louder meant you were playing it quieter? In most clubs, the sound systems will have limiters or compressors. If the signal that passes through them is too loud, they'll slap it back down.
You're not coming in sounding like that, mate.
This is to avoid blowing the speakers. This can make your tracks lose dynamic range and can actually lower their volume. So in some cases, by turning it down, you're actually turning it up. The final step in our rocket's journey is to separate the lander. We now need to get it down to the surface where our astro ravers await. This is the volume control on your speakers. Depending on the speakers you have, the controls for this may be a bit different. But if you can, you want to set this to around 0 dB. Some speakers may also have a clipping indicator. Turn them up as loud as you can without this turning on. There's also one other volume control you need to care about, and this is the volume control for the sound system in Mission Control. It's usually called the booth. It controls the sound for the DJ monitors if you're playing in a club. The controller I'm on at the moment, the DDJ 1000, doesn't have a separate meter for this. Just make sure to set this to a comfortable level. But if you don't know how to control the energy in your sets, this is all pointless. Simply adjusting the volume won't make people dance if your set's boring and doesn't flow properly. In this video, I show you how to take control of the dance floor with some simple but powerful techniques any DJ can apply right away.